Am I audible now? In last class, we were discussing about okay. So in last class, we were discussing about nature of French society. Okay, basically the topic which we are covering here is French Revolution. This is the topic which we are covering. French Revolution, right? The year is 1789, and we were trying to understand the social conditions, economic conditions, political conditions in France, right? That motivated the revolution. So here I was discussing about French society, and in last class I have discussed about three state, right? In which we have discussed about the clergy class, we have already discussed about the nobility class, and we have also discussed about commoners. And commoners were the backbone of the French society, and this group of commoners was the majority population of France. Okay, and the life conditions, the social conditions, there was a social discrimination, and the most important indicator of the social discrimination here is the privileged based system. Okay, so the French society was based on the system of privileges. It was based on the system of privileges. So it indicates about the discrimination in the French society. This we have already discussed. Okay, now I will discuss one more thing, that in voting rights also there was a discrimination with the French people, and this concept is very popular, one of the most popular concept, that the voting rights, obviously there was no democracy, the country was not a country that is republic, it's a monarchical setup, but still there was a custom tradition that whenever any important decision about some political, economic, or anything is to be taken, so the three states meeting will be convened. The representatives of these three states will come, and they will discuss and they will try to sort out the problems. Clear? So this was a convention, but this convention was not generally followed. Why it will not be generally followed? Because this is a monarchical state. Okay, and according to this convention, the three states, whenever any important decision is to be taken, the three states meeting will take place. Meeting of this three state will take place, and here the criteria, that is the first state, this is the second state, and that is the third state. So there will be three states, and your voting rights are not on individual basis. For example, today our voting rights are what? Individual voting rights, but here the voting rights are not based on individual, it's basically group based. For example, first state will have one vote, second state will have one vote, and third state will have one vote. Clear? And it's not given on individual basis. Individual basis पे ये voting नहीं है. It's based on group approach, states approach. First state one vote, second state one vote, and the third state one vote. Now it's very simple. Whose interests are common here? The interests of first state and the second state, their interests are common here. So obviously this is not the majority population. First state plus second state, first state plus second state is having how many votes? 2 votes. And the third state will have how many vote? Only one vote. So this is always in majority. Clear? So we see that there will always be the prominence of first state and second state in this way. So this was the another sort of discrimination among the French people, right? So this is also an indicator of the discrimination. I hope you have got this idea. That's the most important thing. Now, another important thing. Let's discuss about the political condition. Political condition. A basic idea about the political condition in France. Clear? So here it's not only France. When we say the political condition in France, so the political condition in other countries of Europe also The political system is what? Monarchical system or dynastic rule. Okay, that is one of the most important thing, that dynastic rule was there not only in France but in other countries of Europe also. For example, if we talk about these countries, for example, the countries are France, the another country is Spain, right? The another country is Naples. Clear? So in these countries, a dynasty was ruling. The name of this dynasty was Bourbon dynasty. The same dynasty was ruling France also. So this is an example that here what we see, dynastic rule. And here which dynasty was ruling? So Bourbon dynasty was ruling. This is a common idea. I will give some other examples also. For example, there was another country. The name of that country was Holland, right? That is another country. The name of this country is Holland. And here another dynasty was ruling. The name of this dynasty was Orange dynasty. So here another dynasty was ruling. The name of this dynasty was Orange dynasty, right? The countries Sardinia and Piedmont, right? Later they will become the part of Italy. So here we are reading about Sardinia and Piedmont. So the countries like Sardinia and Piedmont, here also there was dynastic rule. We will discuss all the events on the map also, but first we will try to understand the concept. We'll remember keywords and then we'll discuss the map. And here Savoy dynasty was ruling. So again another dynasty was ruling. That is what? Savoy dynasty. Savoy dynasty is ruling in the same way. Okay. Pope was ruling the central Italy, that is Papal States. Okay. So Papal States were ruled by Pope. Pope was also ruling. The Papal States were ruled by, yeah, अभी सारी ईयर बता दूंगा तो याद कर लोगे. This is a general idea that we are talking about which century. We are talking about 18th century. So these are the general dynastic rules which were present in the 18th century. ठीक है ना? So this is just an example that in different countries of Europe, dynastic rule was there. Right? In different countries of Europe, dynastic rule was there. Okay, the system in Britain was also what? Monarchical system. Raja Rani का concept तो वहाँ भी था. But Britain was a little bit progressive. और एक बात और याद रखना कि this revolution is in which year? 1789. And what is the age of enlightenment period? Age of enlightenment period क्या है? This is what? 17th 18th century. So this revolution is during the age of enlightenment period. This in fact is also important. Okay, it means, what I mean to say is that absolute monarchy was there. In France, Bourbon dynasty was ruling. We are reading this topic, and this Bourbon dynasty rule was the example of what? It was the example of absolute monarchy. It is an example of absolute monarchical setup. And here what we see, that who had the absolute powers? So the king had the absolute powers. And that's why we are calling it as an absolute monarchy. King had the absolute powers. Okay. And what the king will do? Will he support the progressive ideas of revolution or not? Why I am saying that progressive ideas? Because Renaissance will bring such progressive ideas. Age of enlightenment will bring such progressive ideas. And the king will support these ideas or not? No. Monarchical setup, the absolute power, the king had the absolute power. There is no any restriction or limitations on the power of the ruler. That is absolutism. Okay, so the king will do what? The king's rule is also reactionary here. You can write here, it is reactionary, right? It means not supporting the progressive ideas of revolution. The king here is a symbol of what? The king here is a symbol of conservatism, right? It is reactionary. The king here is a symbol of conservatism, right? he is promoting the things like class privileges. The king is also promoting the privilege based system. King himself is promoting what? King himself is promoting privilege based system. Okay, so the entire political regime is what? Okay, oppressive regime, right? The entire political regime is oppressive regime. And when this regime will be oppressive, what will happen? Corruption will increase or not? Yes. So corruption will also increase as a result. This entire regime is progressive. The entire regime is oppressive, and the corruption will also be promoted. Okay. The state will promote welfare oriented policies or will not promote welfare oriented policies. The state will not promote welfare oriented policies, public oriented policies. So the people are not happy. So the write this, the state lack of public oriented policies. Lack of public oriented policies. The state is not promoting the public oriented policies. This all is happening in France. Okay. This is a general idea about this political system. Now, who was ruling France at this point of time? We need to understand. Okay. So, right. Okay. The rulers in France. ठीक है. Rulers in France. अच्छा, एक और चीज से रिलेट करना आप, जो मैंने आपको पहले बताया था, French company in India. Okay. Was suffering from the same challenges. Why it was suffering from the challenges, I have discussed with you here कि why the company was suffering from the challenges. Company challenges से क्यों suffer कर रही थी, ये सारी बातें आपने समझ ली. इसके बाद क्या है? The rulers in France. For example, the ruler's name, when revolution took place, the ruler was Louis XVI. इसके पहले भी rulers हैं. There is a series of rulers like Louis XIII, Louis XIV, Louis XV, Louis XVI. Okay, but यहाँ पे एक ही नाम याद रखना है, Louis XVI. So write this. Only one fact you need to remember, that is Louis XVI. Louis XVI. So when revolution took place, okay, the ruler was Louis XVI. Basically, Louis XVI, okay, ruled from 1774 till 1792. Okay, and French Revolution took place in which year? French Revolution took place in the year 1789. ये है French Revolution का year. French Revolution took place in this year, and Louis XVI was ruling till this year 1792. And I will discuss later that why Louis XVI ruled even after the revolution. Which kind of political system was introduced after the revolution? But there is a weakness of this ruler. And what is the weakness? This ruler is lacking the capacity to rule or the govern. So this is like later Mughal rulers. Louis XVI lacked the capacity to rule or govern. Lacked the capacity to rule or govern. This is the weakness. It means the ruler is a weaker ruler. Okay. He is inexperienced. He is not well skilled in the tasks of, he is not skilled in the tasks of handling administration, right? He is not skilled in the tasks of handling administration. Okay, he could not take firm decisions, and we know that this is one of the most important ability of an administration. Taking firm decisions is the most important thing in administration. So he lacked what? This quality of taking firm decisions. Okay, he was a symbol of tyranny. He was a symbol of conservatism. So Louis XVI was also a symbol of tyranny. He was also a symbol of tyranny. He was also a symbol of conservatism. So he was a symbol of tyranny and he was a symbol of conservatism. Okay, Louis XVI was a symbol of conservatism. Okay, why I am saying he was a symbol of conservatism? Because he is opposing the progressive ideas of revolution. और जो इससे भी एक कदम आगे निकल जाता है, इज लाइक जहांगीर. जहांगीर की कहानी आपको पता है, सो वही बताया था मैंने. ठीक है, कि when Jahangir was ruling, actually from 1611 who was ruling? Noor Jahan. Entire administration was in the control of Noor Jahan. Okay. In the same way, this ruler Louis XVI was also under the influence of his wife, and the name of his wife was Marie Antoinette. But there is a difference between Noor Jahan and Marie Antoinette. Noor Jahan थोड़ी बुद्धिमान थी. She was a good, smart, clever administrator. But Marie Antoinette, ठीक है, अब समझ लो, ठीक है. Marie Antoinette, read this, okay? He was under the influence of his wife, okay? Marie Antoinette. He was under the influence of his wife, Marie Antoinette. It means basically who is taking the decisions? Not Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette was taking the decision. And Marie Antoinette lacked wisdom. Okay? She used to spend a lot of money. She lacked the understanding, political understanding. She lacked the quality to rule. She lacked the quality to govern. Okay? And even she did not listen to the suggestions or advice of those ministers who were smart and clever, those who were able to handle the task of administration. ठीक है. उल्टा उसने क्या किया? फायर कर दिया उन लोगों को जो फ्रेंच स्टेट की कंडीशंस को संभाल सकते थे. She fired those ministers who were capable to handle the challenges. So that is Marie Antoinette. So Marie Antoinette also played an important role here. Okay, it means the entire political condition what we see is that the ruler is not sensitive towards, okay, what is going on in the minds of the people. The ruler's wife is also not sensitive to the demands of the people. Okay, it means the political condition in France in this year was degenerate. Political conditions was degenerate. In society, the people, among the people, there was a lot of dissatisfaction among the masses. लोगों के अंदर बहुत सारा असंतोष भी था. There was a lot of dissatisfaction. Okay, now this all was happening here. This all was happening here. And what we see? We see the French people. Now, the another important thing here is that, okay, some important international events, right? This, some other international events, some other international events. They are also important to understand. And what are these other important international events? For example, okay, one important international event at that time is what? Okay, पहला तो क्या हो गया? Renaissance. And what is the next phase of Renaissance? That is Age of Enlightenment. And what is the time period of Age of Enlightenment? This is 17th century and 18th century. This is Age of Enlightenment period. We all know this. और Age of Enlightenment क्या है? ये इसका डेवलप्ड स्टेज है. दिस इज रिफॉर्मेटिव इन नेचर. मैंने आपको बताया था, दिस इज रिफॉर्मेटिव इन नेचर. रिफॉर्मेटिव मीन्स द आइडियाज are favoring or supporting to bring progressive changes in political system, in economic system and everywhere. So this was reformative in nature. ये पूरा का पूरा movement जो था ये reformative था. That is most important thing. Okay, Age of Enlightenment. Okay, and in this Age of Enlightenment period, पहले तो Renaissance period का outcome क्या था? You all know that Renaissance promoted what? Use of reason. ये Age of Enlightenment में भी है. This is a common point in both Age of Enlightenment. Reason was promoted, use of reason was promoted, humanity was promoted. Read this point. Use of reason was promoted, humanity was promoted, scientific temperament was promoted as a result. Okay, there were important developments in literature, in philosophy, right? There were important development, literature, philosophy. Okay, now when the people will use reason, what will happen? Knowledge will be promoted in the society. The idea of freedom will be promoted in the society, right? The common good will be promoted in the society, and the people will develop this understanding that when the state is ruling, the state must rule to ensure the benefits of the common masses. ठीक है, स्टेट का रूल ऑथोरिटेटिव नहीं होना चाहिए. द स्टेट का रूल कंजर्वेटिज्म वाला नहीं होना चाहिए. स्टेट की पॉलिसीज कैसी होनी चाहिए? पब्लिक ओरिएंटेड होनी चाहिए. लोगों की ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग आ चुकी है. सो द पीपल हैड रेड दिस. नाउ द पीपल हैड दिस सेंस एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग that the state policies must be people oriented. Now this is the understanding of the people, that the state policies must be people oriented. Okay, state policies must be people oriented. This is the understanding of the people. Now the people have become more wise. And what is the reason behind this? Because use of reason was promoted. And at the same time, what is happening? People are also criticizing what? Orthodoxy that was promoted by Catholic Church. इसका भी मतलब है कि लोग ज़्यादा बुद्धिमान हो गए हैं. People were also criticizing orthodoxy that was promoted by Catholic Church. People were also criticizing the orthodoxy that was promoted by Catholic Church. It means the people were becoming more and more critical or not? Yes. Reasoning was promoted. Yes. Now the people are more critical in their approach. The people are more critical in their approach and their outlook. ठीक है. इंग्लैंड में धूम मचा दिया था जेरेमी बेंथम और जॉन लॉक ने. उनके आइडियाज पॉपुलर हो रहे थे इंग्लैंड. जेरेमी बेंथम एंड जॉन लॉक वेर पॉपुलर इन इंग्लैंड एट दिस टाइम. जेरेमी बेंथम, आइडियाज आपको नहीं जानने हैं, आपको सबके केवल 2-3 आइडियाज मैं बताऊंगा जो इंपॉर्टेंट है. जेरेमी बेंथम वाज देयर, जॉन लॉक वाज देयर. दे वर वेरी पॉपुलर, देयर आइडियाज वर वेरी पॉपुलर इन इंग्लैंड. मॉन्टेस्क्यू, वॉल्टेयर, रूसो, दे वर बिकमिंग पॉपुलर इन फ्रांस. ये फ्रांस में सबसे ज्यादा पॉपुलर हो रहे थे उस समय. मॉन्टेस्क्यू, राइट, वॉल्टेयर, रूसो, दे वर becoming very popular in France. ठीक है. पॉपुलरिटी की एक खास बात है शुरू से ही, रिवॉल्यूशनरी स्पिरिट विल बिकम मोर पॉपुलर अमॉन्ग द मासेस. हमेशा ये एंशिएंट टाइम से, मिडिवल टाइम से होता आ रहा है. वॉल्टेयर के बारे में बताया था ना, द सेम पर्सन सेड दैट एंशिएंट होली रोमन एम्पायर वाज नीदर एंशिएंट नॉर होली. ठीक है. मतलब बहुत कम लोगों के अंदर हिम्मत होती है एस्टैब्लिशमेंट से आके बहस करने की, सिस्टम से आके लड़ने की. ये वही लोग थे जो सिस्टम से लड़ रहे थे. मॉन्टेस्क्यू, रूसो. Okay, then in America, who was becoming popular at that time, the name is Thomas Paine, Thomas Jefferson. They were becoming popular in America, right? Thomas Paine, Thomas Jefferson, they were becoming popular in America. ये लोग अमेरिका में पॉपुलर हो रहे थे. And now tell me one more thing. When American War of Independence was fought, what was the year? It is before French Revolution or after French Revolution? Connect करो events को. It's before French Revolution. American War of Independence, very simple. American War of Independence, this is the year 1775 to 1782. जनरली इसको 1775-76 भी लिखा जाता है बुक में. तो 1775 to 1782. और फ्रेंच रिवॉल्यूशन का टाइम क्या है? दैट इज 1789. नाउ कनेक्ट द थिंग्स. अमेरिकन वॉर ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस. I told you in introductory class that decolonization started in which century? 18th century. ठीक है. But Second World War के बाद after 1945 it accelerated, right? This is the most important fact. So here American War of Independence, independence from Britain. It means America was a colony of Britain. America was a colony of Britain. So if a colony will fight for its independence, don't you think that the progressive ideas will be promoted in this case? Yes. If the colony will fight for independence, what will happen? The progressive ideas will be promoted in this condition. This is the most important thing. Your colony is fighting for independence, right? That is the most important thing. Now, what we mean to understand here is that in America, the progressive ideas were very popular. All those progressive ideas that were, right, promoted by these thinkers, these philosophers, they were very popular in America. Now, will these ideas reach to the people of France also? Yes, the ideas will reach to the people of France also. So that is the main important thing here, that the revolutionary spirit that is popular among the American people will also reach France. Okay, the same revolutionary spirit will also reach France. Okay, that is the most important thing. For example, John Locke. I am writing the crux of some thinkers, what they wrote. John Locke, right? That is an important name. And this is an age of enlightenment period. John Locke. He wrote a book. The name of that book was, that was a very famous book. The name of that book was Treatise of Government. That is the name of the book. John Locke wrote a famous book, and the name of that famous book was Two Treatises of Government. That was the name of that famous book. Two Treatises of Government. And in this book, John Locke did what? John Locke criticized the divine rights of the king and the absolute right of the kings. That's the most important thing. That here John Locke did what? John Locke criticized. John Locke criticized what? The divine right of the kings. John Locke criticized the divine right of the kings. Divine right of the kings and absolute right of the kings. Absolute right of the kings. Absolute divine right of the kings. It means he is opposing what? He is criticizing what? Monarchical setup. Divine right of the kings. Absolute right of the kings. And the people are also not happy. So what will happen? A time will come when, under the influence of these ideas, people will start making demand for a new political system, and that new political system will be the system of republics. मेरी बात समझ गया ना? Ideas का बहुत बड़ा influence होता है. So now the people will demand for what? The system of republics. देखो मैं बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं बता रहा हूँ. I am not entering into details in John Locke, क्योंकि इतने से आपका काम हो जाएगा. मेरी बात समझ गया ना? You need to write some references and example in 150 words answers, 200 word answer. तो उसके लिए ग्रंथ पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है. Okay, is it clear? Okay, so that is the most important thing. So read this. He criticized divine right of the kings and absolute right of the monarchs. Absolute right of the monarchs. In the same way, there was another most popular thinker, and the name of this thinker was Rousseau. This name is very popular. You all are familiar with this name. Again, I will talk about the essence of his thought. For example, Rousseau is very famous for a book which he wrote, and the name of that book is what? कोई बताएगा? सबसे famous book, that was the Social Contract. That was the most famous book of Rousseau. Social Contract. That was the most famous book of Rousseau. And in this book, what Rousseau writes? Rousseau writes that the main idea behind the creation of this state system is what? What is the main idea? That there is a state and there are the people, and state is looking after the administration of the authorities. State authorities are looking after the administration. And what is the state authority? The nature of a state is the absolute monarchical system. Now Rousseau is saying that what could be the idea behind the formation of this government system? So he said that the main idea behind this is that, okay, it is like a social contract. It's like a contract between the people and between the representatives of people. This should be the main foundational principles behind the idea of a state. एक स्टेट के पीछे यही सबसे बड़ा फाउंडेशनल प्रिंसिपल होना चाहिए कि इट इज लाइक अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बिटवीन द पीपल and between its representatives. And when this will happen, what will happen? More responsible and responsive government could be established. That is the idea of Rousseau. Okay, so in this book, read this, he discussed about the idea of formation of a state. He discussed about the idea of a formation of state, and he also writes that the government must be based on the government here must be based on social contract. The government must be based on social contract between the people and their representatives. Between the people and their representatives. Okay, so he's talking about that social contract. Okay, between the people and between the representatives. Now in the same way, there is a third example. And what is that third example? The third example is Montesquieu. Montesquieu. That is another important thing. And Montesquieu is well known for his book, and the name of this book is The Spirit of Laws. That is the most famous book of Montesquieu. The Spirit of Laws. That is the most famous book of Montesquieu. And in this book, Montesquieu gave a theory. And what is this theory? The theory is theory of separation of powers, right? Montesquieu wrote a book, that is The Spirit of Laws, and in this book he gave a theory, and this theory is the theory of separation of powers. The theory of separation of powers. And what does this theory suggest? This theory says that this theory talks about decentralization of power, because in authoritarian political system all the powers were centralized in one person. The king's words were the laws. राजा के शब्द ही उसके कानून थे, right? All the powers were concentrated in the hands of a single authority, and in this situation the administration will never be responsible and responsive. Now Montesquieu says that there should be a division or separation of powers. He talks about decentralization of power, and he says that there should be what? Separation of power. There should be what? Separation of power. He talks about this, that there should be separation of power. And what does it mean? It means that legislative powers, executive powers, and judiciary powers, legislative powers, executive powers, and judiciary powers must be separate and independent of each other, right? Legislative powers, executive powers, and judiciary powers or judicial powers must be separated. They must be separated. इन सबको अलग अलग होना चाहिए, and independent of each other. They must be separated and independent of each other. This is the idea. Legislative powers, executive powers, and judiciary, this must be separated and independent of each other. Okay, that is the most important point. Is it important or not? These ideas are important or not? In your opinion, do you think these ideas are important? Yes, these ideas are important. And now I am asking you a very simple question, that what do you think? These philosophers, these thinkers, they would have directly participated in acts of revolution, or their role was indirect? What is your opinion? Exactly, ये common sense की बात है. These are the philosophers and thinkers. What they do? Okay, they used to motivate the masses. ठीक है? They used to criticize. They used to criticize the conservative system. They will use to awaken the people, enlighten the people. बात समझ गया ना? मैं अपने घर में खड़ा होके 50 लाख लोगों को अफेक्ट कर सकता हूँ आने वाले 2 साल में. मेरी बात समझ गया ना? This is the power of the idea and power of the thought, and this will happen. ठीक है? ये होगा. So this is the power and power of thought and power of idea. I will not go outside. I will sit in my home, but if I had a platform where I can communicate with the masses, if there is a printing press where the ideas can reach to the people, in that situation one person can affect the thoughts and ideas of the millions. He can change the thoughts and ideas of the millions. And the same was done by these philosophers and thinkers. They did not participate directly in the acts of revolution, but they revolutionized the masses. They changed the thoughts and perception of the masses. The people start behaving, thinking in a critical manner. So they prepared the background of the revolution. मेरी बात समझ गए? उन्होंने क्या किया? क्रांति के लिए आधार तैयार कर दिया. They prepared the background for the revolution. That is the most important thing. So if someone asks you that the philosopher's role in revolution is direct role or indirect role, so what will be your answer? The role was indirect. So write this. Philosophers played which kind of role? Thinkers played which kind of role? Direct role or indirect role? So the answer is indirect role. And write this point, that the ideas of these philosophers and thinkers revolutionized. The ideas of these philosophers and thinkers revolutionized the ideas of these philosophers and thinkers revolutionized the ideas of these philosophers and thinkers revolutionized, okay, revolutionized the masses. Right, this point, the idea of these philosophers and thinkers revolutionized the masses. They prepared the base or foundation for the revolution. They prepared the base or foundation for the revolution, but they did not participate directly in the revolution. They prepared the base or foundation for the revolution, but they did not participate directly in the revolution. कितनी आसान सी बात है, ठीक है। अच्छा बताओ, फिलोसोफर्स का आइडिया, इस पे इन्फ्लुएंस किसका है? द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ रेनेसा एंड एज ऑफ एनलाइटनमेंट। मेरी बात समझ गए? और फिलोसोफर्स के आइडियाज का इन्फ्लुएंस कहाँ होगा? रिवॉल्यूशंस पे, वेदर दिस इज अमेरिकन रिवॉल्यूशन or French Revolution or Russian Revolution. In all these revolutions there will be the impact of philosophers' ideas, and in the process of unification of Italy and Germany also the progressive ideas of revolution will be there. So this is the common part. When you are writing American Revolution, यही वाला point add कर देना है एक part में, and इतना भी नहीं लिखने का scope है. You can write maximum 15 to 20 words. तो अभी भी ज़्यादा पढ़ रहे हो आप, इससे भी कम जानना है, right? When you are writing French Revolution, you can include this part. Now we are moving ahead. Another important point that I am going to discuss here is, okay, the first one important point here is that I have told you earlier in the modern Indian history class today, okay, क्या था ये? Rousseau social contract. The idea of formation of a state, okay, it's like a contract between the people and the representatives of the people, and the basic idea behind is that he is advocating that, ठीक है, the state को क्या होना चाहिए? Responsible होना चाहिए, इतनी सी बात है. He is not supporting the authoritarian government and the absolutism, okay. He talks about equality also, ठीक है. Now I have told you earlier in the modern Indian history class, I told you that there were Anglo-French war in India, and I told you that the conflict between English and the French was global, okay. It means they were also fighting in Europe, okay, and the reflection of this conflict is seen in America also. Like India, in America also, British and French, they were the two main colonial rivals. India की तरह ही था, they were the two main colonial rivals. Most important thing is here, it's the same like India. In India also, British and French were the two main colonial rivals. In America also, they were the two main colonial rivals. Clear? But who was successful in colonizing America? British were successful. Okay, तो यहाँ पे भी किसको सक्सेस मिली? So British were successful in colonizing America. British were successful in colonizing America. और तभी से ये बात किसको बुरी लगी थी? फ्रांस को, ठीक है. This colony now was not in the hands of France, so that's why France was having enmity or hostility with Britain. This is one reason. This is one reason. There are many other reasons in world history also. Okay, this is one reason. Now the second basic concept is that, okay, America is a colony of Britain. America is a colony of Britain, and here, when the War of Independence will start, War of Independence will start, so this war will be fought between American people and Britain. ये American people, it means indigenous American people, okay. Indigenous क्या? American people लिखो, okay. America, the nation, okay, was a country of migrants at that time. So this War of Independence is basically led by the American people and it's against Britain. Now यहाँ पे अमेरिकन लोगों का दुश्मन कौन है? ब्रिटेन. ब्रिटेन इज द एनिमी, द सेम कॉन्सेप्ट, दुश्मन का दुश्मन क्या होता है, दोस्त होता है. नाउ हु विल कम टू सपोर्ट अमेरिकन पीपल, बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट, कौन आ जाएगा, फ्रांस, फ्रेंच विल कम. ओके, उन्होंने कहा बहुत बढ़िया, अभी अभी हम क्या करते हैं, लोकल लोगों को सपोर्ट कर देते ब्रिटेन के अगेंस्ट. सो द नाउ द फ्रेंच विल कम, नाउ हियर व्हाट विल हैपन, द फ्रेंच विल कम टू सपोर्ट अमेरिकन पीपल. तो फ्रांस विल, देखो, इफ फ्रांस विल सपोर्ट, ऑब्वियसली फ्रांस विल सेंड इट्स मिलिट्री. ठीक है, फ्रांस क्या करेगा, फ्रांस विल सेंड इट्स मिलिट्री ट्रूप. क्लियर? And these military troops, these soldiers are French soldiers, these soldiers are French soldiers. They came to America to support American people against British. और अमेरिका में क्या चल रहा था, रिवॉल्यूशन. और ये रिवॉल्यूशन कैसा रिवॉल्यूशन था, प्रोग्रेसिव रिवॉल्यूशन. इन दिस प्रोग्रेसिव रिवॉल्यूशन द डिमांड्स वेर व्हाट, प्रोग्रेसिव आइडियाज ऑफ रिवॉल्यूशन. नाउ इफ फ्रेंच सोल्जर्स विल कम एंड पार्टिसिपेट, will they became familiar with the progressive ideas of revolution, yes or no? क्या वो progressive ideas of revolution से familiar होंगे? Yes, the French people will become familiar with the progressive ideas of revolution. And when they will return home, तो क्या करेंगे, जैसे आपको वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री समझ में आएगा तो आपका काम क्या होगा अगला, आई एम्फेसाइज ऑन डिस्कशन. तो आप क्या करोगे, 3 और लोगों को वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री पढ़ाओगे. ठीक है, तो धीरे धीरे क्या होगा, घोस्ट खत्म हो जाएगा. ठीक है, फिर मैं भी खत्म हो जाऊंगा. ठीक है, so this is the idea. Okay, so now what is happening here, that the French soldiers, when they will return to their home, what will happen, the French soldiers, when they will return to their home, now they are carrying the revolutionary spirits, the progressive ideas which they became familiar during the American War of Independence. And now they will discuss these ideas with the common masses, with the common people. अब वो ideas को क्या करेंगे, discuss करेंगे. And what will be the impact of this, when the people will discuss, the people will become more familiar with these programs. तो बताओ इससे नुकसान किसको होने वाला है, फ्रांस में गवर्नमेंट कैसी है, ऑथोरिटेरियन, मोनार्कियल सेटअप, कंजर्वेटिज्म. और अमेरिका में इंडिपेंडेंस में आइडियाज कौन से प्रोमोटेड हैं, revolutionary ideas. So when the French soldiers will come, soldiers themselves are familiar with these ideas, and when they will return they will promote these ideas. तो ये बैकफायर कर जाएगा फ्रांस का पॉलिसी. ठीक है, इसको कहते हैं बैकफायर. नाउ दूसरी बात क्या होगी, फ्रांस के पास पैसा वैसा वैसे भी कम था. द फ्रेंच गवर्नमेंट वाज ऑलरेडी फेसिंग इकोनॉमिक चैलेंजेस, राइट. आई हैव ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू that the political leadership was not good. Okay, and this is not only about a single ruler, there are many rulers who are weak and capable. So the leadership is not good, there is a lot of corruption, there is nepotism, there is feudalism. So what will happen, the French economy will perform better or not, it will not perform better. All are not paying the taxes, those who are rich, they are not paying the property taxes. What will happen, the state treasury, the revenues will come down. So France was already facing the economic challenges, and when you will send your military, there will be what, military expenses will be incurred, and due to these military expenses there will further be more adverse effect on the economy of France. इससे फ्रांस की इकोनॉमी पे और ज्यादा एडवर्स इफेक्ट पड़ेगा. So what will happen, since France send its military troops, so therefore there will be military expenses. There will be what, military expenses, and due to these military expenses what will happen, अगर ये military expense होगा तो इसका impact क्या होगा. Okay, the French economy was already not performing well, the French economy was already not performing well, the state treasury was already empty, the state treasury was already empty. Now what will happen, the French economy will be near to collapse due to these military expenses. Okay, French economy is going to collapse. There will be a huge economic crisis before France due to its mistaken decision. So this decision is what, a kind of mistaken decision. अगर फ्रांस में रिपब्लिक होता और अगर आप अपनी आर्मी भेजते तो बात समझ में आती. फ्रांस में ऑलरेडी ऑथोरिटेरियन रूल है, और ये पहला मिस्टेक नहीं था. इसके पहले भी कुछ हुआ है, दैट आई ऑल्सो वॉन्ट टू डिस्कस विथ यू. हैव यू अंडरस्टूड दिस कॉन्सेप्ट? ठीक है, और समझने के बाद बहुत शॉर्ट में लिखना है इसको. मैं थोड़ा ज़्यादा बता रहा हूँ ताकि आपको याद हो जाए सुन के. मेरी बात समझ गया ना, ताकि ये बुकिश न रह जाए चीज़ें, बट यू हैव टू राइट इन वेरी शॉर्ट वे. नाउ द अनदर इंपॉर्टेंट इवेंट दैट टू आई डिस्कस इन मॉडर्न इंडियन हिस्ट्री क्लास, 7 years वॉर. इसके बारे में भी लिखो, 7 years वॉर, एंड दिस वॉज फॉट ड्यूरिंग दिस पीरियड 1756 टू 1763. यहाँ हुआ था 7 years वॉर, एंड हियर द मेन पार्टिसिपेंट्स वेर ब्रिटेन एंड फ्रांस. Here also the main participants were Britain and France. Main participants were the Britain and France. Okay. और इंडिया में जो थर्ड एंग्लो फ्रेंच वॉर था वो क्या था? दैट वॉज द रिफ्लेक्शन ऑफ द सेम वॉर इन इंडिया. हमेशा याद रखना, दिस वॉज अ 7 years वॉर इन यूरोप. दिस वॉज अ 7 year वॉर इन यूरोप, एंड इन इंडिया यू कैन राइट हियर दैट इन इंडिया third Anglo-French war, third Anglo-French war was the reflection of, third Anglo-French war was the reflection of 7 years war in Europe. It was the reflection of 7 years war in Europe. ये यूरोप में 7 years war का ही एक रिफ्लेक्शन था. और इस वॉर में क्या होता है? Which side is defeated? French were defeated. French were defeated. In this war, French were defeated. इस war में French were defeated. Now defeat means what? Loss. Because when you will fight war, and this war is a prolonged war, इसका नाम ही है 7 years war. ये महीने 2 महीने चलने वाला बैटल है नहीं. This is a prolonged war. देखो, it continued for 7 years. So this war is what? A prolonged war. And in prolonged war, what will happen? Huge military expenses will be incurred. बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा खर्च होगा, right? In this prolonged war, what will happen? Huge military expenses will be incurred. Huge military expenses will be incurred in this 7 year war. Huge military expenses will be incurred. Is it clear? Huge military expenses will be incurred. Now, this is loss for military expense will be incurred by both these two parties. पैसा तो दोनों का खर्च होगा ना, Britain also and France also. Now, British will do what? British had in the same period, modern India से relate कर रहा हूँ, the concept is very important. During the same period, British will do what? In India, लिख लो hint, this is very important concept. In India, one battle is Battle of Plassey. The second battle is Battle of Buxar. Okay. And then Treaty of Allahabad. These are the modern Indian history episodes. So Battle of Plassey was fought in 1757. Buxar was fought in 1760. Plassey was fought in 1757 and Buxar was fought in 1764. समझ में आया? And in modern history, I will discuss with you that Battle of Buxar confirmed the victory in Battle of Plassey. अभी इस टॉपिक पे नहीं आएंगे. फिलहाल आप ये समझो कि when East India Company established its political control over India, वो ईयर कौन सा था? That was 1757. इसी को मानते हैं ना, वही वो लैंडमार्क ईयर है 1757. Now control over Bengal means what? Control over rich economic resources of Bengal. If the Bengal ruler will become puppet ruler, what will happen? You don't have to pay any duty. You will monopolize the market of Bengal and you can maximize the benefit or the trade gains. So British did what? They fought 7 years war in Europe and their huge military expenses were incurred and they compensated their loss from which colony? India. And that's why they call India which colony? Classic colony. ब्रिटेन की बहुत सारी कॉलोनीज थी, उनमें इंडिया ही क्या था? क्लासिक कॉलोनी था, बिकॉज कई बार इंडिया ने बचाया ब्रिटिश को, राइट? आवर इकोनॉमिक रिसोर्स, दैट्स व्हाई इंडिया वाज कॉल्ड गोल्डन बर्ड. ठीक है, तो 2-4 पंख उखाड़ ले जाते थे जब जरूरत पड़ती थी उनको. इंडिया वाज कॉल्ड अ गोल्डन बर्ड. Have you got this concept? Understood this concept? This is very important, right? So here what we see, that in this 7-year war, British did what? They compensated their loss. They fought a prolonged war for 7 years and then they compensated their loss. Okay, but what about French? French compensate कर पाए क्या? नहीं. And French company, was it performing better in India? The answer is no. Battle of Bedara. Okay, Dutch वगैरह मैंने बताया था आपको, सारी चीजें बताई थी. So here what we see is that, read this. Okay, हाँ, यहाँ लिख लीजिए कि where French failed to recover their economic loss. French failed to recover their economic loss. Already they were burdened. French failed to recover their economic loss. It means already they were burdened. They were facing economic challenges. And what about this? The decision to participate in American War of Independence. This will further increase their economic challenge or not? Yes, this will further increase their economic challenge. So write this. The French economy was already overburdened and the decision, it was already overburdened and the decision to participate in American War of Independence was a mistaken decision. The decision participate in American War of Independence was a mistaken decision. Mistaken decision. So French economy was suffering at this point of time. French economy was suffering at this point of time. Now, at the same time, what happens? Due to some climatic conditions, right, next point, due to some climatic conditions, agriculture production also dropped. Due to some climatic conditions, what happened? Agriculture production also dropped. Agriculture production also dropped. Okay? So what will happen? Mismatch in demand and supply. Read this point. Mismatch in demand and supply. Mismatch in demand and supply. Mismatch in demand and supply. Okay. And what will happen? Agriculture supply side will be affected. So what will happen? Food riots will take place in the streets. Read this. Supply side was affected and as a result, supply side was affected and as a result, rights. Supply side was affected and as a result, food riots took place. Food riots took place in the streets. Food riots took place in the streets. Now, who was the ruler at this critical juncture of time? Louis XVI was the ruler. Okay, so read this. This was a critical situation. This was a critical situation. This was a critical situation. And who was the ruler? So Louis XVI was the ruler at this critical situation. Now, how to solve this crisis? This was the main issue that was discussed here. How to solve this crisis? So in order to solve this crisis, in order to solve this crisis, States General meeting was summoned. In order to solve this crisis, what happened? So States General meeting was summoned, right? States General meeting was summoned. In order to solve this crisis, States General meeting was summoned. State General की meeting बुलाएगी. In order to solve this crisis, the meeting of States General was summoned. अच्छा, मीटिंग को बुलाने का ही मतलब है दिस मीटिंग वाज समन्ड हियर आफ्टर 173 years. इसका मतलब क्या है कि द किंग, हिज फैमिली मेंबर्स, दिस डायनेस्टी नेवर रियलाइज द नीड टू टेक द ओपिनियन ऑफ द पीपल्स रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स. इतने लंबे समय तक उनको जरूरत ही नहीं महसूस हुई कि लोगों की आम राय भी ली जाए. नाउ दिस टाइम स्टेट्स जनरल मीटिंग इज कन्वीन्ड एंड दिस मीटिंग itself indicates that the entire situation, economic situation as well as political situation, is very grave. Now, what happens in this meeting? Again, states general meeting means the meeting of three states: first state, second state, and third state. So this is a meeting of three state. Okay, now here the representatives of clergies will be present, the representatives of nobility class will be present, and the representatives of commoners will be present. Commoners will be present. Now there are discussions that how to solve this problem. Now there is a suggestion from the commoners, and what is the suggestion? They give a suggestion that first state and second state should be taxed. They should pay the taxes. Okay, and this will minimize the burden over state treasury. They should pay the taxes. इनको क्या करना चाहिए? Taxes pay करने चाहिए. First state and second state should pay the taxes. समझ गए इस बात को कि फर्स्ट स्टेट को सेकेंड स्टेट को टैक्स पे करना चाहिए. दिस सजेशन, दिस एडवाइस इज अ गुड सजेशन और नॉट? गुड सजेशन. क्लियर कि स्टेट रेवेन्यू थोड़ा इंक्रीज होगा. दैट वाज द आइडिया. Here when they will pay the taxes, the state revenues will be increased. So obviously this was a good suggestion. एक अच्छा suggestion. But what will happen? This suggestion will be accepted or not? So for acceptance of this suggestion, what will happen? Voting will be done. Voting will be done. And we all know about this voting. इस voting के बारे में सबको पता है. That the voting will be done on individual basis or it's a group based approach. Group based approach. So now here one vote is the vote for clergy class, one vote is the vote for nobility class, and one vote is the vote for commoners class. Now these two votes, these two groups are saying that no, we are not ready to pay the taxes, and they are saying that yes, they should be taxed. Now this is what? A situation of deadlock. ये deadlock हो गया. Why they were not paying the taxes? Because this is a privilege which they were enjoying from the centuries. So they were not ready to give up their privileges. Basically what commoners demanded was to end the system of privileges. यहाँ पे ये डिमांड किस बात को इंडिकेट कर रहा है? कि they are demanding to end the system of privileges. ये इसको खत्म करने की बात कर रहे हैं. They are demanding to make an end to the system of privileges. System of privileges को खत्म करने की बात कर रहे हैं. That's the third state. They are making a demand to end the system of privileges. इसको खत्म करने की बात कर रहे हैं. Now what will happen? Okay, what will happen? This decision will not be accepted. Okay, now this commoners, this group will be dissatisfied. This group will be dissatisfied. Their suggestions will not be accepted. They will be dissatisfied. Now they will raise another demand. अब इनकी demand बदल जाएगी. Now they will put another demand. Okay, now their demand will be changed. Now the demand of third state will be changed here. Now the demands will be changed. Now here what we see that demands will be changed. और वो क्या होगा बताओ? Demands will be changed. Now they will make demands to change the voting pattern. अब वो voting pattern को change करने की बात करेंगे, and that's the most important thing. Now they are demanding to change. Now they are demanding to change the voting pattern. And they are saying that this should be made on an individual basis. इसको क्या कर दो आप? Voting rights and pattern be what? On individual basis. इसको individual basis पे करो. One person, one vote. One person, one vote. This is a progressive demand or not? Yes, this is a progressive demand. One person, one vote. And this will do what? This demand is capable of breaking the entire foundation of this absolute political system. One person, one vote. This is a progressive demand. ये आया कहाँ से होगा demand? Progressive ideas of revolution से ही तो आया होगा, right? Now this is the important demand. Now what will happen? Okay, write this. Okay, there are some important events in French history. I am writing the dates here. Okay, the dates are to understand the development. उस development को समझने के लिए लिख रहा हूँ. One important date here is I am writing month basically May, and here I am writing June 1789. ठीक है? Actually the date which I am talking is 20th June. आप लोग याद मत करना उसको. The date is 20th June. 20th June 1789. And I am writing another date here, and that is July month, right? And the date is 14th July. This date you can remember, 14th July 1789. This is the date of French Revolution. This is the date of French Revolution. Clear? So what happened in the month of May, what happened in the month of June, and what happened in the month of July, this we need to understand. कि मई में क्या हुआ, जून में क्या हुआ, और जुलाई में क्या हुआ. So देखो, from this month in May month, the representatives of third state here, the representatives of third state were continuously demanding, representatives of third state were continuously demanding, they were continuously demanding for what? They were continuously demanding to change the voting pattern or system. They were continuously demanding to change the voting pattern, the discriminatory voting system. Better, this is the better word, accurate word, that they were continuously demanding to end the discriminatory voting system. Okay, they were doing this. Now, in order to discuss this issue, there was a district. The name of that district in France was Saint Louis, and in that district there was a indoor stadium, that was a tennis court. So in that tennis court a meeting was summoned to discuss the same issue. Okay, and that's called tennis court oath. Okay, that I am going to discuss. So here the name of the event is tennis court oath. This is the name of the event. The name of the event is tennis court oath. Tennis court oath is the name of event. Okay, and this we need to discuss. What is this tennis court oath? So what is the case here? The case is that in France there was a district. The name of that district was Saint Louis, and in this district there was a indoor stadium. There was a indoor stadium, and this indoor stadium was a tennis court. There was an indoor stadium, and this indoor stadium was a tennis court. Indoor stadium क्या था? Tennis court. The people here assembled to discuss the same thing. यही बात डिस्कस करने के लिए जमा हुए. Okay, so here the people assembled. Here the people assembled to discuss the same, to make the future strategies for the same, to discuss the same, to make the future strategies for the same. ठीक है? Got it? And now the leader, there was a leader, the name of that leader was Mirabeau. Okay, so the people assembled, they took oath that we will fight for this cause. The cause you already understand. And this event in history is famous by the name of what? Tennis court oath. Oath समझ गया ना? We will fight for this cause. We will end this system of discrimination. We are united for this cause. We will never fear to sacrifice our lives for the cause. Okay? Whenever there is need, we are ready to come. We will fight this battle. And the next event is what? Okay? Because they know that the ruler is what? A monarch. And when we will raise this demand, the ruler will do what? He might give the orders to arrest us. वो अरेस्ट भी करवा सकता है, जान से भी मरवा सकता है. इनको ये बात पता थी, तो डर भी रहे थे. They were also fearing. Okay? And there were almost here 500 to 600 people who were the representatives of commoners. They took this oath. Write this. There were about 500 to 600 people who were the representatives. They took this oath. Okay? We will not separate. We will reassemble whenever it will be needed. Okay? This happened. They took this oath. right? Now, this event is what? This event in history is popular by the name of Fall of Bastille. This event is popular by this name. And what is the name? The name is Fall of Bastille. Fall of Bastille. Now, what is Bastille here? Okay, it was a state prison at that time. Bastille at that time was a state prison. A state prison. It was a fort, medieval fortress. It was not a fortress, it will be more proper and accurate word. This was like a medieval fortress. Okay, there were 8 towers in this fort, and this was the symbol of monarchical dictatorial rule in France at that time. This Bastille fort was a prison, and at that time it was a symbol of monarchical dictatorial rule. It was a symbol of monarchical dictatorial rule. Bastille fort was a symbol of monarchical dictatorial rule. ये symbol था monarchical dictatorial rule का. Okay, and why I am saying this? Because when Louis XVI was ruling, when the absolute monarch is ruling, those who were advocating the progressive ideas, उनको क्या किया जाता था? They were arrested and put in this prison. That's why this was the symbol of conservative order. जो भी प्रोग्रेसिव आइडियाज की बात करेगा, एब्सोल्यूट मोनार्किज्म का विरोध करेगा, that person will be put in this prison. That's why this is the symbol of authoritarianism. Bastille Fort. तो जब रिवॉल्यूशन होता है तो क्या होता है? सिंबल्स पे अटैक किए जाते हैं. दिस वाज द सिंबल, Bastille Fort. So what happened? The third state representatives, supported by thousands of people, attacked this Bastille Fort. भाई गुस्सा आया, उनकी बात नहीं सुनी जा रही है. Then what they did? Read this. The third state representatives, along with thousands of people, attacked this Bastille Fort and established control over it. That is known as storming of Bastille. Okay, they attacked this Bastille Fort and established control. And established their control. What they will do? They will let the prisoners released. सभी कैदियों को आज़ाद कर देंगे वो. And then this was the place where arms and ammunitions were also kept. So will they establish control over the arms and ammunitions also? Yes, they will also establish the control over arms and ammunition. So what happened here? Prisoners were released. The prisoners were released and they also established control over what? Arms and ammunition. Prisoners were released and they also established control over arms and ammunition. This happened. Prisoners were released and they established control over arms and ammunition. Okay. King was sleeping in his palace. King Louis XVI. Okay. So one of his servant came and said that, Sahab, what has happened? Okay. King is asking, what has happened? Is this a revolt? The servant said that the people had stormed the Bastille. Bastille पे कब्जा कर लिया लोगों ने. The ruler asked, is it a revolt? And the servant said, no sir, this is not a revolt. This is a revolution. बताओ, Louis XVI के सर्वेंट को भी पता था what is revolt and what is revolution. अब मैं आप लोगों से पूछूंगा, what is the difference between revolt and what is the difference between revolution? Now tell me the difference between these words. ठीक है? What is revolt? देखो, कोई ऐसा established definition तो नहीं होता, but looking at the traits or the features, we make our understanding. What is revolution and what is movement? Revolt, revolutions and movement. ठीक है? मैं ये क्वेश्चन उनसे yes. बढ़िया है, ये तो हिंदी मीडियम की क्लास में बताना तुम. मतलब बढ़िया, ये तो बढ़िया डेफिनेशन दिया तुमने. लिबर्टी मतलब स्वतंत्रता, इक्वलिटी मतलब समानता. व्हाट इज विद्रोह एंड क्रांति? व्हाट इज डिफरेंस बिटवीन दैट? ठीक है, गिरीश बताओ. यू कैन आंसर, यू ऑल कैन आंसर. इतनी अंडरस्टैंडिंग आपको है, बट ट्राई टू गिव आंसर. मतलब आपका ये कहना है कि ये एग्जैक्टली मीन्स यू वांट टू से दैट दिस कॉन्सेप्ट इज मोर वाइडर, ठीक है, इट इनकॉम्पेसेस वेराइड रेंज ऑफ इशूज, ये बात आप कहना चाहते हैं, ठीक है ना, एंड यू आर सेइंग दैट इट एड्रेसेस अ सिंगल पार्टिकुलर इशू और यू कैन से दैट माइनर इश्यूज, ये आप कहना चाहते हो, ओके अच्छा दूसरा कोई और सम अदर स्टूडेंट? Exactly. Means up Shinam wants to say that when we talk about revolt, okay, so some particular groups or classes are a part of it. And when we talk about the revolution, it is supported by, okay, a large segment of people. ठीक है, many groups, multiple groups. So she is talking about on the basis of, so her parameter is mass participation. Here mass participation is low, here mass participation is high. Any other person? आप फीचर्स बताओ, देन आई विल डिस्कस द डेफिनेशन, होता क्या है, बहुत आसान है कॉन्सेप्ट। और कुछ? चलो मैं बता, एग्जैक्टली ये भी बहुत अच्छा पॉइंट है दैट व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट रिवॉल्यूशन, so here we talk about the radical changes, those radical changes which are going to bring a change in the entire political system, economic system and all this, ठीक है, that is a good point, ठीक है। now on the basis of what you have discussed, I am going to define these two terms, okay, revolt and revolution। क्या है revolt and revolution? तो देखो सबसे पहले तो ये बात समझ लो कि when we talk about revolt, okay, and when we talk about the revolution, so the root cause or genesis of revolt is what? Dissatisfaction, डिससेटिस्फेक्शन से ही ये होगा, राइट। रिवॉल्यूशन का भी क्या है, रूट कॉज और जेनेसिस इज व्हाट? डिससेटिस्फेक्शन। द रूट कॉज और genesis is what? Dissatisfaction. Now the question is, who is dissatisfied? Now the question is, who is dissatisfied? Dissatisfied कौन है? Who is dissatisfied? This is one question, ठीक है। dissatisfied कौन है? Okay, suppose one group or one class is dissatisfied, two group, three group or three classes are dissatisfied. It means if it's spread among a small size of population, that may be revolt, and if it is spread over larger groups, that's a revolution. This parameter you already have discussed, that looking at the mass participation, we can also, okay, define revolution and revolt. If mass participation is low, if it is supported by, you can say that, small group, if it is supported by large group, if it is supported by all people, masses, so that is a revolution. तो फ्रांस में जो हो रहा था, इसको सपोर्ट कौन कर रहा था? कॉमनर्स। और कॉमनर्स का पॉपुलेशन कितना था बताओ? 95 to 97% पॉपुलेशन। तो इन दैट केस व्हेन यू विल यूज पैरामीटर दैट इसको सपोर्ट कौन कर रहा था, तो हियर 95% पॉपुलेशन वाज सपोर्टिंग दिस, तो ये क्या हो जाएगा? रिवॉल्यूशन। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ आई से मुंडा ट्राइब रिवोल्ट इन इंडिया, यानी ये रिवोल्ट किसका है? दिस इज रिवोल्ट ऑफ अ ट्राइबल ग्रुप, और ट्राइबल ग्रुप में भी दिस इज नॉट द रिवोल्ट ऑफ ऑल ट्राइब्स, दिस इज द रिवोल्ट ऑफ मुंडा ट्राइब। मेरी बात समझ गए? तो इससे हम डिफाइन कर सकते हैं रिवोल्ट्स एंड रिबेलियन, गॉट इट। एंड दूसरी तरफ क्या है? रिवॉल्यूशन। नाउ द सेकंड इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट हियर इज दैट दिस रिवोल्ट इज ऑफन, जैसे यहां पे बस आप इतना ध्यान में रख लो, मुंडा रिवोल्ट, ठीक है, मुंडा ट्राइब रिवोल्ट, पागलपंथी रिवोल्ट, ठीक है, अहोम ट्राइब्स रिवोल्ट, ये एग्जांपल आप मॉडर्न इंडिया के ध्यान में रखो, अहोम ट्राइब्स रिवोल्ट आप समझ जाओगे। अभी 1857 का रिवोल्ट मत बोलना, वो थोड़ी देर बाद बताऊंगा वो क्या था, ठीक है ना। मुंडा ट्राइब रिवोल्ट, अहोम ट्राइब रिवोल्ट एंड ऑल दिस। नाउ दीज रिवोल्ट्स आर, राइट दिस, उनमें एक जो सबसे प्रोमिनेंट फीचर होगा कि दे विल बी सडन, अचानक होगा, सडन आउटब्रेक ऑफ द रिवोल्ट। सडन आउटब्रेक मीन्स व्हाट? दिस इज नॉट प्लान्ड, ये प्लान्ड नहीं है, दिस इज नॉट प्लान्ड। सडन आउटब्रेक मीन्स इट्स नॉट प्लान्ड, ठीक है। जैसे मैंने आपको पढ़ाना शुरू किया, अगे एक दिन अनाउंस किया, अगले दिन से पढ़ाना शुरू कर दिया, ओके। सो दिस इज व्हाट? नॉट प्लान्ड, दिस इज अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड, it's spontaneous, it's spontaneous, spontaneous. It lacks strategy, coordination. It lacks strategy. It lacks coordinated efforts. It lacks strategy. It lacks coordinated efforts. Okay. And it's short lived also. ऐसा नहीं है कि ये कई साल तक चलेगा. This is also one feature. This is short lived also. This is short lived also. Okay, this might be possible that the revolt can bring some change, but this change will be minimum change or minimal change. ठीक है, ऐसा नहीं कि पूरे देश की पॉलिटिकल और इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम बदल जाएगी. So this might be possible that the revolt will be successful in bringing change or will not be successful in bringing change. दोनों हो सकता है कि रिवोल्ट होगा तो कोई चेंज नहीं आएगा, ये भी हो सकता है. रिवोल्ट होगा तो चेंज आ भी सकता है. रिवोल्ट कैन ब्रिंग चेंज ऑल्सो, बट दिस चेंज विल बी व्हाट, मिनिमम और मिनिमल चेंजेस. ठीक है, रिवोल्ट विल ब्रिंग व्हाट, minimal changes. It's short lived, it's unorganized, it's planned, it's spontaneous. ठीक है, got this idea? नहीं, मैं बताऊंगा अभी. मैंने कहा रिवोल्ट ऑफ 1857 इज अ डिफरेंट केस. अभी मैं बताऊंगा उसके बारे में. अभी आप जनरल मीनिंग समझ गए रिवोल्ट से. आई विल डिस्कस रिवोल्ट ऑफ 1857, उसका भी जिक्र करूंगा. राइट, दैट इज अ डिबेटेबल टॉपिक ना. तो अच्छा देखो, एक्सेप्शंस विल बी देयर. इसके एक्सेप्शंस भी होंगे. हो सकता है कि देयर इज अ रिवोल्ट विच इज नॉट शॉर्ट लिव्ड. दिस माइट बी पॉसिबल. तो एक्सेप्शंस मे बी. ठीक है ना. तो दिस इज नॉट लाइक दैट कि ये एब्सोल्यूट ट्रूथ है. ऐसा नहीं है. कोई एक दो पैरामीटर्स कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो सकता है, बट ये पैरामीटर नहीं कॉम्प्रोमाइज होगा. पार्टिसिपेशन ऑफ द मासेस, दिस विल ऑलवेज बी लो. अब आप इसमें आ जाओ. तो फर्स्ट पॉइंट अ स्टूडेंट सेड इज दैट wider version, it encompasses wide range of issues. So write this, it will encompass what, wide range of issues. So this is what, a wider version. This is a wider version. Now tell me, in French Revolution, it encompasses of one issue or multiple issues? The idea, multiple issues. ठीक है, देखो वोटिंग राइट्स को चेंज करना, दिस वाज द इमीडिएट रीजन, बट इट वाज हैविंग मल्टीपल इश्यूज. मल्टीपल इश्यूज थे. ऑर्थोडॉक्सी प्रोमोटेड बाय द चर्च, चर्च अथॉरिटीज का ऑथोरिटेटिव बिहेवियर, देयर वाज एब्सोल्यूटिज्म, देयर वाज नो रिस्पॉन्सिबल एंड रिस्पॉन्सिव रूल. तो बहुत सारे इसके रीजंस हैं. मेरी बात समझ गया ना. सो दिस इज वन पॉइंट. इट विल इंक्लूड वाइडर सिस्टम बेस्ड प्रिविलेज. दो प्रिविलेज बेस्ड सिस्टम जो है इसका अपोज करना था, तो ये भी तो एक पॉइंट हो गया ना. एंड द सेकेंड पॉइंट इज व्हाट, ओके, participation of the masses. So it will be supported by large group of people, and the most important thing is that it will be capable of bringing radical changes. Radical changes. And these changes are what, okay, the changes in political system, the changes in system of administration. This will also bring change in religion. This will also be capable of bringing changes in society. ठीक है, सब कुछ बदल के रख देंगे. ये वाला कॉन्सेप्ट है इसमें. ठीक है, तो दिस विल बी केपेबल ऑफ ब्रिंगिंग चेंजेस. ठीक है, इसमें ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या हो सकता है? तो ऑब्जेक्टिव कुड बी ओवरथ्रोइंग अ रूलिंग गवर्नमेंट. रशिया में जो हुआ वो क्या था? रेवोल्यूशन. अमेरिका में जो हुआ क्या था? रेवोल्यूशन था. ब्रिटिश कॉलोनियलिज्म खत्म हो गई. दैट वाज रिवॉल्यूशन. दैट वाज द इंपैक्ट ऑफ दैट. रशिया में क्या हुआ? monarchical system, Romanov dynasty rule was ended and first time an ideology was established as a political system. वो revolution. फ्रांस में क्या होगा? okay, monarchical system will be ended and constitutional monarchy will come. ये है revolution. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोनार्की आना ये भी एक बड़ी अचीवमेंट है. रिपब्लिक विल नॉट बी इंट्रोड्यूस जस्ट आफ्टर दिस, बट द सिस्टम विल चेंज. मोनार्की की जगह क्या आ जाएगा? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोनार्की. सो यू कैन राइट हियर दैट, ओके, चेंज इन पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम और चेंज इन गवर्नमेंट. ओके, अच्छा बताओ, ये कोऑर्डिनेटेड एफर्ट होगा कि नहीं? दिस विल बी अ कोऑर्डिनेटेड एफर्ट. मैंने पहले ही बताया कि यहाँ पे लोग इकट्ठे क्यों हुए थे, बताओ. Why the people assembled here in tennis court? डिस्कस किया ना उन्होंने. ओके, सो राइट दिस, इट्स अ रिजल्ट ऑफ कोऑर्डिनेटेड एफर्ट. इट्स अ रिजल्ट ऑफ कोऑर्डिनेटेड एफर्ट. इट्स नॉट as spontaneous, it's planned. It's not spontaneous, it's planned. Okay, it's planned. अब जो third important point here is that we need to understand that what about violence, use of violence in revolt and use of violence in revolution. Will there be use of violence in revolt? Is it a possibility? हाँ होगा. अब गुस्सा आ गया मुझे तो मैं किसी का सर फोड़ दूंगा. ठीक है, गुस्सा अचानक आता है, मैं ऐसा नहीं करूंगा, बट दिस इज जस्ट एग्जांपल. इन रिवोल्ट्स, फॉर एग्जांपल इन मॉडर्न इंडिया व्हेन यू विल रीड ट्राइबल रिवोल्ट, पीजेंट रिवोल्ट, एवरीवेयर यू विल फाइंड दैट द ट्राइबल्स वर यूजिंग देयर ट्रेडिशनल मेथड्स ऑफ वॉरफेयर. ठीक है, वो तीर धनुष लेके भिड़ जाते थे, बो एंड एरो, विथ बो एंड एरो एंड स्पीयर्स, दे वर फाइटिंग विद द कॉलोनियल रूल. तो यूज ऑफ वायलेंस, यस, this can be seen in revolt. And use of violence, yes, this can be seen in revolution also. यहाँ भी use of violence हो सकता है. बास्टील फोर्ट में प्रिजन अथॉरिटीज को किल किया गया. प्रिजन अथॉरिटीज वर किल इन द बास्टील फोर्ट. ठीक है, और आगे चल के तो लुई 16 को भी गिलोटिन पे चढ़ा देंगे, गला काट देंगे उसका. दिस ऑल्सो विल बिकम, दिस ऑल्सो विल बी हैपनिंग इन द फ्रांस. So use of violence is an important part here. Now, okay, the next important point. The third is what? अच्छा, यहाँ पे एक और आपको बता दूँ idea that we will discuss in modern Indian history. In modern Indian history, there was a very famous revolt, and that is what? Revolt of 1857. याद रखना इसको, revolt of 1857. Now there is a debate about this revolt, that this revolt, for example, there are different opinions regarding this revolt. The colonial historians will try to demean this revolt, because अगर revolt होगा तो revolt कहीं ना कहीं it shows the failure of the British. The colonial historians will try to demean this revolt, okay, and they will say that it was only a sepoy mutiny. They say that it was only a sepoy mutiny. ये केवल sepoy mutiny था. It was a revolt, that is revolt of 1857. It was only a sepoy mutiny. But when you will read this topic, you will find that yes, sepoys started this mutiny, but later this revolt was supported by large group of people. Sepoys started, but later it was supported by large group of people. Sepoys started, but it was supported by Bahadur Shah Zafar also, who was the ruler. It was supported by peasants also, right? It was supported by zamindars also. Okay, it was supported by traditional artisans also. It means there were various groups who came in support of revolt of 1850. तो ये बात तो गलत हो गई. It was not only a sepoy mutiny, right? And what was the ultimate objective of the ultimate objective of the people who supported this revolt? So they wanted to overthrow the British rule. ये बात तो अच्छी है. They wanted to overthrow the British rule. They wanted to overthrow the British rule. This objective can be validated because British rule was a symbol of colonial rule. ये बात सही है. But at the same time, what is the objective of the sepoys here, or those people who were supported revolt of 1857? They wanted to bring back the Mughal rule. They wanted to reinstall the Mughal power. And this is progressive or regressive? Tell me your opinion. Regressive है भाई. This is 19th century. दुनिया एज ऑफ एनलाइटनमेंट में चल रही है और आप कह रहे हो कि हम मुगल रूलर को लाएंगे. और मुगल रूलर क्या है? दिस इज द सिंबल ऑफ मेडिवलिज्म. ही इज अ मोनार्क, ही इज अ एम्परर. वो डेमोक्रेसी नहीं है. So in 19th century we should fight for democracy, and here what we see is that the people are demanding that we are going to bring back Mughal authority. This demand is regressive. So this is the limit of this revolt. यहाँ पे objective जो है, objective becomes regressive. ये progressive नहीं रह जाता है. This is regressive, that they want to bring back the Mughal rule. Bring back the Mughal rule. And this is the reason that educated Indians remained neutral during the revolt of 1857. Educated Indians neutral रहते इस revolt में. ठीक है, इसके बाद देखो क्या है. इतनी बात आपको समझ में आई? ठीक है. Now there are different debates here, but ultimately what should be opinion? It's a balanced opinion. And what is this? देखो, हम इसको केवल सेपॉय म्यूटिनी कह नहीं सकते. इट्स नॉट प्रॉपर टू से इट अ मियर सेपॉय म्यूटिनी, ओनली सेपॉय म्यूटिनी कह सकते हो क्या? केवल सेपॉय म्यूटिनी तो नहीं था, ओके, बट some historians say that this was the first great war of India's independence, भारत की आजादी का पहला संग्राम, फर्स्ट ग्रेट वॉर ऑफ इंडियाज इंडिपेंडेंस। अगर हम कहते हैं फर्स्ट ग्रेट वॉर ऑफ इंडियाज इंडिपेंडेंस, तो यहाँ पे एक प्रॉब्लम ये है कि वॉज वेयर वी फाइटिंग द फर्स्ट ग्रेट वॉर ऑफ इंडियाज इंडिपेंडेंस टू ब्रिंग बैक द मुगल रूल? क्या हम भारत की आजादी का पहला संघर्ष मुगल शासन को वापस लाने के लिए लड़ रहे थे? वे वी फाइटिंग फॉर दिस, ब्रिंग बैक द मुगल रूल, सो दिस इज व्हाट लिमिट, and that's why it is more proper to say that it was more than a mutiny, it was more than a revolt, but less than the first war of Indian independence। तो ये इसका आंसर होगा, राइट? दिस revolt of 1857 was more than a mutiny, but it was less than the first great war of India's independence। It was more than a mutiny but less than the फर्स्ट ग्रेट वॉर ऑफ इंडियाज इंडिपेंडेंस। ये म्यूटिनी से ज्यादा था और फर्स्ट ग्रेट वॉर ऑफ इंडियन इंडिपेंडेंस इससे थोड़ा कम था, ऐसा कह के हम बीच का रास्ता निकाल सकते हैं, बिकॉज दिस इज अ डिबेटेबल टॉपिक। आई होप यू हैव अंडरस्टूड द डिफरेंस बिटवीन रिवोल्ट एंड रिबेलियन। समझ में आया गिरीश? थोड़ा बहुत तो समझ में आ गया ना? ठीक है, अब एक और वर्ड है मूवमेंट, मॉडर्न इंडिया में डिस्कस करेंगे। मैंने इसीलिए ये दोनों मॉड्यूल्स एक साथ शुरू किए थे, ठीक है? द रीजन वॉज दैट आप चीज़ों को क्या कर लोगे, इंटरेक्ट करके समझोगे, ठीक है? एक दो बच्चों ने मैसेज किया था ऑप्शनल के लिए, तो अगर आपने जीएस की क्लासेस मेरी ठीक ढंग से पढ़ ली और उसके बाद ऑप्शनल किया, तो ये मतलब एक बहुत ही शानदार डिसीजन होगा, ठीक है? पहले नहीं, हिस्ट्री ऑप्शनल कभी मत लो बिना जीएस पढ़े हुए, नहीं तो खतरा हो जाएगा। जो भी हिस्ट्री ऑप्शनल के स्टूडेंट्स हैं, मैं आपको साफ साफ बता रहा हूँ, ठीक है? If someone convince you that take history optional it will cover all GS, this is not true, because GS में ज़्यादा पढ़ना है और वहाँ पढ़ने का अप्रोच अलग है, ऑप्शनल में अप्रोच इज कम्प्लीटली डिफरेंट, पूरी तरह से अलग है। When you will know better general studies, you can write effective answers in mains and that too without making more efforts। आप आसानी से अपना काम कर सकते हो, ठीक है ना? तो ये ध्यान रखना है, आपको अपनी स्ट्रैटेजी खुद बनानी है। अगर आपका प्लान मैं बनाऊंगा तो मैं आपका प्लान बाजार की डिमांड्स के अकॉर्डिंग बना दूंगा, ये बाजारवाद है, हमेशा याद रखो, ठीक है? एवरी पर्सन इज रनिंग आफ्टर द मनी, बी केयरफुल अबाउट योर फ्यूचर, you should take your own decisions, that is the most important thing। Now the third word is what? Movement, write this, the third word is movement। And what is the movement here? Movement हम पढ़ेंगे, for example in modern India we will read about Swadeshi movement, we will read about non-cooperation movement, we will read about civil disobedience movement, we will read about quit India movement, ठीक है? तो movement क्या है? Movement is a passive way, it is a passive way to resist an oppressive structure, passive way to resist an oppressive structure, passive way to resist an oppressive structure without using violence। Clear? This is what? Without using violence, that is the most important thing, without using violence, this is the core issue, without using violence, this is a passive way to resist any oppressive structure without raising violence। For example, if I had to oppose something, for example there was Henry David Thoreau, okay, and he was opposing the system of slavery that was validated by the American government after American War of Independence। कहा ये क्या है भाई, हम इंडिपेंडेंस हो गए and slavery is validated by law, and he opposes slavery and he says that when state law and your moral law both comes in a state of conflict, and if you know that my moral law or my moral conscience, okay, it's supporting a valid truth, okay, any demand that is for justice, in that case you should go with your moral law, you should not follow the state law, and what will happen in that case? The state may put charges against you, the state may put you in the prison, but you should be ready to go to the prison, because once you go to the prison for a right cause, will gain the sympathy of the people. And when you will gain the sympathy of the people in the favor of your demand, the people will come. The people will come to support you. And in this way, can gain the support of the masses for a right cause. And that is a passive way to resist an oppressive structure. And Gandhi learned the same technique from Henry David Thoreau. Henry David Thoreau, okay, wrote an essay on civil disobedience. He says that if the state law is not in sync with your moral law, disobey the civil law. Civil law को disobey करो. Henry David Thoreau says Gandhi adopted disobey the civil law. Civil disobedience movement, salt satyagraha. Gandhi did what? Gandhi break salt law. Non-payment of revenues was also a part of civil disobedience movement. So this is what Gandhi learned from Henry David Thoreau. This is the movement. This is a passive way to resist an oppressive structure. Got it? We are gathering the support of the masses for a cause. But there will be some exceptions. इस definition का भी कुछ exception हो सकता है. जैसे कि when you will read modern India, what you will find? Quit India movement. Tell me, use of violence or no use of violence? This is a prelims question. This is a prelims question. The statement was, Quit India movement was completely non-violent in nature. Correct or incorrect? ये prelims का question है. Completely non-violent? नहीं. देखो इसीलिए मैं कहता हूँ टॉपिक को ध्यान से समझो. मेरी क्लास में डिस्कशंस को सुनो. क्विट इंडिया मूवमेंट, व्हेन आई विल टीच यू, आई विल टेल यू दैट इन इनिशियल स्टेज क्विट इंडिया मूवमेंट देयर वाज नो यूज ऑफ वायलेंस, बट व्हेन द ब्रिटिश used brutal means of suppression, in that case some sorts of limited violence were there. तो क्विट इंडिया मूवमेंट में लिमिटेड वायलेंस है. इट्स नॉट वायलेंस, इट्स अ लिमिटेड वायलेंस. तो अगर स्टेटमेंट ये लिखता है कि इट वाज कंप्लीटली नॉन वायलेंट, सो इट विल बी इनकरेक्ट. ठीक है, इसमें क्या था? लिमिटेड वायलेंस था. क्विट इंडिया मूवमेंट में क्या था? ऑलवेज यूज दिस वर्ड लिमिटेड वायलेंस. हम इसको डिस्कस करेंगे अपनी क्लासेस में. नाउ आई होप यू हैव अंडरस्टूड दिस. क्लियर? रिवोल्ट, रिवॉल्यूशन एंड मूवमेंट आगे भी डिस्कस करेंगे. विल डिस्कस द मीनिंग. सो वी वर डिस्कसिंग दिस इवेंट. ओके, फॉल ऑफ बास्टिल. गॉट इट? So fall of Bastille is what? Beginning of French Revolution. यही है beginning of French Revolution. And this is the same place where Eiffel Tower. आप लोग गए भी होंगे, फ्रांस वगैरह गए हो आप में से कुछ लोग? मैं तो नेपाल भी नहीं गया, बार बार बताता हूँ. ठीक है, तो मैं तो बस फोटो में देखता हूँ. एफिल टावर. ठीक है, तो एफिल टावर was built in 1889. यहीं पे एफिल टावर 1889. And why it was built 100 years later? Okay, to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Bastille Day. इसीलिए एफिल टावर बना था 100 साल बाद. 100 years later एफिल टावर to celebrate the anniversary of Bastille Day. So this event marks the beginning of French Revolution. Okay, so this event marks the beginning of French Revolution. Now we need to discuss a timeline, and this timeline is, after revolution we see what? A transition phase, or the phase of transition in France. We see what? Phase of transition in France. And what is this phase of transition? So first phase is 1789 to 1792. Write this timeline. Second phase is 1792 to 95. The third phase is from 1795 to 99. The fourth phase is from 1799 to 1804, and the fifth phase is 1804 to 1814-15. Okay, so there are 5 phases here. 5 phases, and in these 5 phases, these are what? Transitional phases. These are what? Transitional phases after the revolution. It means the main objective of the revolution was to replace absolute monarchical system with the system of republic, but this did not happen. ये हो नहीं पाया. ठीक है, it will take further a long time. ये हो नहीं पाया. That was the main objective, to replace absolute monarchical system with the system of republics. ये objective था, but this objective could not be fulfilled in 1789. This objective could not be fulfilled in 1789. could not be fulfilled in 1789. समझ गया ना? और यहाँ से डिस्कशन हम कल करेंगे, ठीक है? कुछ बच्चों पे बर्डन ज़्यादा हो जा रहा है, ठीक है? तो 1.5 hours इज सफिशिएंट. आई अंडरस्टैंड योर प्रॉब्लम, ठीक है? ओके, ठीक है ना? काफ़ी है इतना. बाकी आप लोग अपनी तैयारी कर ही रहे हो, के साथ साथ करते रहो, ठीक है? गॉट इट?